You are listening to the Green Living Chat podcast brought to you by Ecoamet Solutions in Ghana. I'm your host, David. Here, we discuss emerging environmental issues in and around the world. We use this platform to promote environmental related projects. So stick around with us. Here we go. Welcome to another episode of the Green Living Chat podcast brought to you by Ecoamet Solutions in Ghana. On today's episode, our guest is Akshay Gunteti, who is the head of partnerships at Green Worms in India. Akshay has been actively involved in youth engagement programs related to climate action, leadership development, and community building. And on today's podcast, Akshay joins me to discuss the role of dignified jobs in waste management. We discuss the role of individuals, government, and industries in helping to solve the waste management problems in India and across the globe. Youth empowerment is very vital in waste management, and in this episode, we also discuss how we can engage the youth more in waste management related opportunities. And we also discuss some of the stereotypes and myths that is known by society when it comes to waste management and why it is important for all kinds of professions to be involved in this industry. I can't wait for you to listen to the details of this episode, but at the time of uploading this episode, India is currently recording very high cases of the COVID-19 pandemic. And to all our listeners and partners in India, we wish you the best, and our hearts and prayers go out for you. We hope that things are going to go back to normal soon and we can get back to our normal activities. We encourage you to adhere to all the measures that health professionals have laid as preventive measures. And please wear your mask and stay at home if there is no need for you to go out. Now grab a coffee and let's get into my discussion with Akshay. Hello, Akshay. Thank you so much for joining me on the Green Living Chats, taking time off your busy schedule. Thank you so much for joining me. You're welcome.
Hello, David. I think it's a wonderful platform. Thank you for taking up kind of initiatives to bringing the voices in the environmental sector.
I have been so enthused about your posts on LinkedIn, and I've been following some of your updates on Facebook, and it just encourages me to actually do more with what I'm doing. But I actually saw a picture of you. Is it on Instagram or Facebook? I don't know which of them. You were wearing a mask with a face shield and your glasses and everything, making sure that even within this COVID, you still stay on the field to work. And this is a very good sign and passionate person that you are. So I just want to say congratulations for what you do. And I know that people around within your circles in India and also in your company really appreciate your work. So thank you so much for what you do.
Thanks, dear. I think glad you checked, updates. Because it's I believe it's more like a advocacy. Essentially, there is a lot of work is being done, but it's not sufficient. And what I realized is, as Greenworms, as an organization, we've been working in multiple locations. There are a lot of good positive stories which can help inspire, and that's the way I just keep on updating with the work to showcase that this is how it can be done. Everyone who is working, it's good to share the work and use the social media platforms to the best. And even a lot of people reach out to me. They get inspired. They want to work in the waste management sector or the environment. So what we are doing at this moment, it might be a small, looking at the crisis we have, but essentially that's the path and the hope. Updates, people get empowered and able to give a helping hand, or able to reach out to the wider audience. I think yeah, hopefully, we need more people to advocate the good work, show the need of protecting our environment.
We are going to get deep into the things that you do so that we can encourage people who would like to get into these kind of businesses very soon. But I would like people to understand the journey that you've been through as you grew up. In 2016, you had a TEDx presentation. I was listening to this thing and I just thought of it. This is about 6 years ago. And over the 6 years, there are a lot of things that have happened. And even on your dad's birthday, you decided to go out there and still, have this presentation and get it out there to encourage people. How has this journey been for you? Where did this, passion to work for the environment, where did this passion start from?
Well, I think for me, I think it's a journey of exploration. Essentially, way back, I discontinued my engineering to kind of find my purpose, greater purpose. Essentially, want to do for the good for the society, and eventually believed entrepreneurship is the only way of solving it rather than looking for the jobs. And then I think one of the decision I've taken is, to travel across India and able to connect with entrepreneurs to understand what kind of problems they are solving. And probably till 16, I was continuously, kind of traveling, meeting a lot of entrepreneurs, investors, the ecosystem. That's where, I really realized the potential of entrepreneurship, and how even a small towns and villages people are trying to solve the problems through a social enterprise, for profit, non for profit, what are the ways, the platforms they have chosen. But essentially, at some point of time, I also in my journeys, I realized the importance of climate change. And that's where I realized environment is something that needs to be protected. So always believe in is something on entrepreneurship. And what about regarding to the solving the environmental crisis that are the greater threat, compared to the local problems which are more related to the government or efficiency, or building a marketplaces. So that's where the TEDx has been a platform, trying to, especially the travel I took. I've seen not just climate change, but I've seen a lot of dump yards, plastic leaking into the environment and all. So that actually evoked me to move my focus towards the environmental sector majorly. And secondly, then I started my non-profit organization, majorly to advocate on engaging youth towards climate action. We work with various municipalities to able to bring in youth to innovate, come up with ideas and able to give access to the pilots. I've been working with the green worms, and but that was a time where, though we are doing a lot of things, able to mobilize almost few thousands of youth passionate to address issues. But what I believed is the green worms is essentially doing the real work on the ground, where if we are doing 50 to 70 tons of waste diverting from the landfills every day, there is something impact that can be measured. So that was a moment I really believe in the work of green worms. And as we started working through these programs, the green worms management offered me, why don't we do equi-hiring, merge the non-profit organization, so that you can come on board and able to do the things at a scale. That's where I got on board. And I think that was a decision, because essentially I see a solution in front of me where the jobs we're creating, the waste is diverted, and the work is done in the towns and villages. So I thought it's a very good platform, and the work was so satisfying. That's where I begin my official journey with the Green Worms as head of the partnerships and the stakeholder. Again, as what are the learnings I had in my last 4 to 6 years, I tried to add value to the green worms, essentially on how we can able to create open innovation. We done certain programs to increase our efficiency. certain increase our safety standards. Not just that, but right now we are also doing certain fellowship programs engaging the youth, as well as we also doing waste trainers, essentially creating more waste trainers in the sector. So whatever I took the journey through the means of entrepreneurship, I'm trying to apply here, able to scale up. This last November we completed our 5 years, the Green Worms. So where we committed ourselves as a Green Worms 5x. The 5x is essentially showing to our supporters, everyone, entire ecosystem, how much impact we have done in the last 5 years, half a decade, and what is our commitment for the next 5 years. And the 5 years as an organization, we learned so many things. Right now, we were able to do some good numbers. Like so far, we are bootstrapped. We created 400 dignified jobs. Right now is how we can scale up at a 5x rate in the next 5 years, in the next half a decade. That is the commitment we have taken, and by giving it to the public, we are also accountable to able to demonstrate the bigger picture within the sector. You see about unicorns, looking at talking about millions and billions, but essentially we are here on talking about how we are going to protect our environment. I think it's a whole lot of journey,
Yes, it
but
is.
for me it's more like a exploration, learning, and willing to adopt. It was quite roller coaster, and I got very good exposure, networks that has built. Right now, I'm trying to activate all those set of resources, set of networks to work on a common goal of addressing waste crisis.
I just want us to talk a little bit about the challenges when it comes to protecting the environment in India. In your personal view and all this time of working within this sector, what do you think are contributing to the challenges in India right now?
Well, I think the landscape in India is kind of accelerating towards the action. The major challenge India is that geographically we are quite scattered and a huge population. And the third is we don't have a proper infrastructure. Whatever the ways, let it be the mobility sector, let it be the water, healthcare. So we are in the process of building our infrastructure, and essentially there are more carbon footprints that's being generated into the waste crisis. Yes, there are still even places in India there is no door-to-door collection, and most of the waste is getting into the dump yard in India. Majorly, the ownership of the waste belongs to the municipalities. That means 95% of the waste management by constitution or through means of service rights, it's need to be undertaken by the municipality. So that is the one challenge we have, giving limited access to the private stakeholders to engage, and the infrastructure is very poor here. And the other thing is there is a kind of myth or a wrong belief that waste management is just collecting the waste from the households and just dumping in the dump yard like a logistic or a delivery company. There is a whole lot things to be done. There is a whole lot of process. A SOP need to be defined. It's not just about the system, but again, it's about the resources. A lot of apart the cities has funds. It just need a strong leadership and able to understand that this waste management is a top priority for the administration. But I believe COVID crisis and the last situations that been happen over last 2 to 3 years. I think we have been become more vulnerable, and everyone realized that this waste crisis are one of the greatest threat we do have at this moment, not just like next half a decade or so. But there is a part of realization, policy level changes is happening. But right now we need to do at a scale at a 5x or a larger. I think in India, the policy level, we have plastic waste management rules. Again, extended producer responsibility, which is in the track. Also, the administration is trying to access to the private players slowly. able to outsource the work to us, to the social NGOs and private players. I think that's a positive sign, but it need to be addressed at a unprecedented rate because the COVID has brought us new challenges, where the usage of plastic is very essential. Usage of disposable has become very essential because due to the virus, there is certain constraints on use of reusability. So one time use plastics has become again more, we've been becoming more dependent during the COVID times. But I think India is doing far best than the other countries. The only way is everyone need to able to utilize the momentum it has, like policy level, regulatory level, the infrastructure level need to. But I see a lot of good work being there, so I should be more optimistic. But I would say it's not sufficient. We need to do it at 5x or a 10x scale.
Yes, I know that most of these issues that you mentioned, it's very common among lots of developing countries. And even in the advanced country, they still have tidbits of some of these challenges in there. But in this era, one of the things that is very paramount is youth education and getting the youth to be empowered to speak out for their leaders to make a change, and for the youth to also get into these kind of recycling incentive jobs, waste management jobs, advocacy, and all that. Before you went to Green Worm, you were very prominent in youth empowerment, right? What difference did you see among the youth and the work that you were doing?
I believe the youth are more empathic than the people who has in the senior roles, or I believe it's because youth has a future that they are being built, so they believe that the future of us, or essentially in a 1 or 2 decades, their kids' future is going to be very challenging and would going to be very vulnerable. So they are concerned, and they are also trying to see if there are opportunity they can able to contribute. And majorly, the youth, I believe, is if they really want to contribute, they can able to choose the careers in the environmental sector. Let it be solar, let it be waste management, or it be into clean energy. What are the ways? Let it be water conservation, or let it be into developing more eco-friendly technologies, or circular economy. I think if they can able to work directly through their job, because they spend almost 8 to 12 hours as a professional, so they can make significantly. And I see a very positive change. The youth are actually looking out for what are the environmental companies which they can work and contribute. And it like, I believe every youth at certain point of time over last 2 to 3 years, I believe they really looked out for working in the relevant sectors within the environment. But there is more people, especially youth, who want to get into the leadership, or making trying to get contribute more. They are starting their own non-profit organizations or startups, through means of entrepreneurship, trying to innovate. So I've seen a lot of interesting companies, startups, or at idea stage, they are trying to see what kind of solution. I think that is a good way. The least thing you can do is living eco-friendly, living. And the second would be, kind of work in the career, in the sector, take up a job in the environmental sector. And the third thing would be starting up something. I think these three things are the thing I would suggest. Start with one, then eventually they can decide. But one thing I would like to update is environmental sector. People have assumption is just a field trip, or you need to be in the dump yard, or you need to be at a riverside. It's not that. The sector is very empowering. I think because there are still in environmental sector we are using AI. We are building a whole lot of applications. We need engineers, we need mechanical. Like if you see electric mobility, so there's a huge lot of sector. Even if you are a you can code, you have a job in the environmental sector. Even if you are electrical engineer, you have a job. So any area of profession there is set, because at the end the environment organization, the companies are more about enterprise which has a diversified need. I think it's just that people need to make it choices. I think even a small choice can make a difference. So I think to add on at green homes also, it's not just people from the tier 2 tier 3 colleges, big institutionals like IITs, IAMs, and people from abroad also write mails to us saying that they want to work in the small companies like green homes also. So that is a change in perception. Earlier, waste management is something like dirty job, but now we have we as an organization around 50 employees, full-time employees. All of the members, including the leadership role, are 32 years, below 32 years. It gives some sort of happiness when someone reach out, say that I want to work in the environmental sector. I think yeah, the youth is on the right track. Now the companies just need to give them an opportunity to start their earlier careers in the sector.
Exactly. Yeah. Earlier, you made mention people have a wrong perception about waste management. They just think that just throwing the rubbish away and just dumping them somewhere, it's what we call waste management. You are experienced in this field. What do you call effective waste management?
I believe, it's more about managing the misplaced resources. So, what are the waste materials that we have, plastic, glass, and all? Major portion is something can be recycled, can be reused, repurposed, upcycled, whatever means. But rather than more like a misplaced, it just left. Like, we see like, someone has lost in trials. So it's like, the useful materials are just misplaced. We couldn't realize the potential. Waste management is something more about recovery. In a half a decade of time, it's not about waste management anymore. We will be part of the circular economy industry, which would be essentially where the managing the waste would be play a significant role. I think there is a good momentum that has been built up, but there is a lot more to do. But what I see is at this moment there is no status for the waste management as a industry. There is a healthcare sector, there is a finance sector, there is a agriculture sector and all, but there is specific sector as waste management. Again, in India, we don't have any ministry for just managing the waste management. Though we were kind of added into the environmental sector, but the waste need a special status quo to able to monitor and able to do the things at a large scale as well as measuring the outcome. And lastly, to add on, I think yeah, people think these are the dirty jobs. People think it's just people treat earlier. There were days people treat these workers working in the sector. People treat them as untouchables and all. But again, the waste reclaimers or India we call rat pickers and all. A lot of unorganized community they contribute a lot, but at what cost? They buy, they sell the recyclables, they make a living, but at what cost of health impacts they have been? That has been completely ignored, and they've been more vulnerable. And I think the COVID crisis, I think everyone has realize the essence of the waste management industry, the essence of these waste workers who are going collecting the waste every day as a frontline workers. I think people has a whole lot of respect that's been there, and now people are thinking how we can able to help them. So this kind of the pandemic has brought some behavior change, but I wish the same momentum increases and people respect this career as the same job as a postman or a shopkeeper or a conductor or a watchman. It's more of doing their duties. Everyone on this planet has responsibilities, and everyone has some role to play. We as a waste management professionals or workers doing our role play. It might be a small piece in the pie, but it's significant.
It is significant, it is. You have made mention a lot of important things that we can do to help and support the waste management companies. Greenworms on the website says that it's a social impact oriented sustainable waste management company. And you are the head of partnerships. Can you tell us what you guys do so that we can get into a little bit of your current projects?
Yeah, thanks, David. Greenworms, we started in 2014. It just started by one person, our founder and CEO, Jabir Karat. He just managing 300 kgs of waste in his village, and slowly the good word has been passed to nearby villages and in Kerala. And back in those days there is no system in the rural areas of waste management, though there are cities and all. So people were quite happy with the work, and we just grown organic. Everyone, we were doing zero waste events. We were doing bulk waste services and all, and just people had some requirement, they reached out, and that's how we grown organically, based on the needs of the people. And our second employee was an auto driver, who believed in our vision and onboarded, as a driver to collect the waste. And as we move forward, currently our second employee, he is now he operates one of our material recovery facilities. Right, currently we are a team of 50 plus team members. So this is a kind of more. All these people are work as some kind of a leadership role, and our focus being, since we started in the towns and villages, we realized these are the places which are very much essential services, because the cities has a huge budget and huge corporates, everyone out there. But the cities are, and the towns and villages are being ignored, and we realize this is a way that we can able to solve the waste crisis. And secondly, we, in the due course of our journey, when we creating more jobs for the women, there is a huge amount of impact that been able to create. As a period of time, we were kind of realize the potential of jobs this process can generate. And so far, we created 400 dignified jobs, and most of them are the women from the low income groups below poverty line. We right now we manage in every district of Kerala, and apart that, in the down south, we operate partially in 5 cities and two union territories such as Andaman and Lakshadweep. And these are the kind of remotest areas. If you, like in all these islands, doesn't have a recycling system and all. So we are working with the government administration, and most of the time we work with the gram panchayat or the municipalities, urban local bodies, because as I told earlier, then the accountability of the waste belongs to them. So we are trying to see how we can able to work with them collectively. So far, we work with almost 60 plus urban local bodies, and these are where we do end-to-end waste management, or we take up the collection or operating the material recovery facility and all. And each every 2 ton of waste we recover, we need 10 people to manage our facility, so means 10 jobs. Currently we manage around like 70 to 80 tons of municipal solid waste. So far we have completely bootstrapped the social enterprise. Right now we are able to, in the process of, able to raise certain impact investments, so that we can able to scale up our operations at a faster scale, at a 5x is something I mentioned. And lastly, all our team members or the leadership team, the age is under 32 years. So it's like a youth led organization journey that we took, till 2020. It just grown organically, that people or the organizations or the government bodies has reached out to us to able to offer them our services or able to help them in the waste management. But right, since it's been a year, we were kind of trying to strategically see how we can able to serve the larger audience. We get a lot of youth who wants to work in the sector. And, sometimes we can't offer our help to everyone who has reached out, but we are trying, we are stretching our limits to be able to utilize it as an opportunity to solve the crisis.
I have gone through your website and other social media platforms of the company, and I've seen some of the projects that you guys are doing, and it seems very significant. And these kind of initiatives are needed in these times, especially now that COVID has really exposed some of the loopholes that we could find in the society. So now people's mindsets are drawing nearer to this, and we need people to stand in and lead in these kind of initiatives. So you guys are really doing a very amazing job. One of the things that stood out to me that I would like us to build upon a little bit is your climate action programs, right? So, what are these initiatives and what goes into them?
The idea was, able to bring the people a step closer, essentially the youth who are interested to work in the sector, able to give them a diversified level of areas that they can choose to work upon, to showcase the challenges and the opportunities, as well as the connect with the industry. That's been the program of, able to mentor them, train them, and able to connect with the ecosystem. That was a major approach. But the other programs we do is essentially we are working on researching about the litter. We have a program called Garbiology. It's more about teaching about the waste management in the litter surveys. We do certain research on what is the littering patterns happening in various villages or towns we are working. So in that course, we understand the local behavior, community behavior, and trying to bring certain change. And apart, we do certain open innovation. Recently, with engaging the youth, we have developed a customized PPE for the waste management workers involved in the segregation and collection, because we feel there are some solutions which might not be suitable for the waste management. So there is a need for customization. So as a company, we are trying to tap the potential of the youth, trying to see what are the ways we can incorporate. And a lot of people who join our waste management fellowship, waste career fellowships, they end up working in the jobs, or eventually get into the better opportunities within the sector.
The whole idea of environmental advocacy has to be localized. And so I really like this you said about, getting to know the raw data and the raw information in the local region so that we can find solutions for the local areas. So, which means that if local people can really encourage local people to come out and add their voice to advocacy to make a change, we can actually get our local governments to also make changes that are suitable to the local region, right? So, supposing that we have a platform where we can cater a group of youth about waste management and the need for us to be very enthused and serious about waste management, what would you generally say?
It's very essential. Most of the policies or kind of decision making happen on the top level, especially at a country level or a state level or a district level. But from our operations, able to working in all these areas, the same solutions doesn't work in the other towns and villages. So definitely you need to understand the local needs, understand the pulse of the local community, and able to build the solutions on the local problems. And yes, you need to win the trust of the community, and you need to bring the local community to be at the forefront of what we are doing as initiative or a campaign. Even for us, we are kind of running success, or to some extent is because we work with the very local stakeholders. Second is we learn from them. We build trust, able to drive, and the major of it, like when we create jobs, is that local people, the women who segregate are from locally, the supervisor or operator and all are the local. They take the ownership, because at the end their community is getting benefited. There is no burning of waste in things. So these local people, yes, we put them always at the front, and we give them some kind of comfort to lead that our initiatives. And third is they also feel pride because their village is getting cleaner, and they also get a very good recognition within the local community that your company or your initiative or the job you're doing is really amazing. So they also feel a sense of happiness that they are contributing to their own local community.
Let me just drift briefly and get your thoughts on this. But we haven't really talked about the source of the waste and how it's coming in. In your personal experience, what is your issue about the huge amount of waste that is being produced on a daily basis and the sources of this waste? What do you think is the role of producers and what do you think is the role of consumers in terms of waste?
So the essentially the role. The first I want to talk about the producers or the brand owners. I think India being a huge population, we have huge market. Literally like every country want to see India as a huge market. And secondly, there is a huge consumption rate has been increased over last few decades. India's the way the market has been becoming open. Earlier, they were kind of a more conservative, but right now the spending rate is high. So people are buying new things. There are many products into the market, and there are multiple choices. So as the economy grows, yes, there is a more market opportunities. This means there is a more use of resources. So India being it's not just though our exports are very high compared to the imports because we have a huge agriculture, a lot of raw materials which we make. I think the industrialization has been increased, so the production is high and able to meet the population has been increasing. So majorly right now we are in a kind of a very growing economy where customers are willing to spend more, brands are willing to offer diversified solutions. So to talk about brands, yes, the brand has a very responsible role they need to be played. Like all the big brands need who sells millions of products every year or monthly, if they can able to work on a better packaging. And the second is if they can optimize their packaging, how based on the user, whether this much kind of packaging is essential. And third is how good the quality of the packaging. Most of the time in India, the major challenge is the multi-layer plastics, where we don't have a recycling ecosystem. So, is there any way you can improve the packaging, or is there a way you can reduce the plastics in it? Or those the responsibility belongs to the brand owners. I think in India we have plastic waste management rules. So, out of few thousands of companies, a few hundreds of companies are following the external producer responsibility. It's not just okay, we just implement the EPR, but at the source, if they can able to reduce the waste in their packaging, because essentially when you release the products into the market, you can't control, though you do EPR or the plastic neutral. I think brands will play responsibility. They have a significant role to do, but at the same time, we have certain challenges in terms of implementing reusable systems because India is a huge population and huge logistics that need to be done. But I think brands should think beyond EPR, beyond the compliance. I think there are brands which are doing, but I see in a next half a decade we can see something. As a consumer, yes, the brand should not say that you bought this, now it belongs to the waste, you need to deal with it. Essentially, the post-consumer waste need to be managed very carefully. I think in India, we recently in Kerala, we done some audit where we take an area, one ward with an average of 500 households, and we collected the waste to do a brand audit to see how much brand packaging is like from chocolate, biscuit to various bottles, juices, beverages. So we essentially mapped out all the brands. In the new codes, when we created awareness, if there is a waste collection system or if the municipality or whoever the waste collection is doing, proper segregation of waste, the people are willing to take up some actions at their personal level, like source level segregation, Second is, actually they want to avoid littering. And major problem is they burn because they don't have a system. Either they throw in a nearby river or a canal, or they burn because they can't keep the waste at home. In Kerala, what we are doing is we are engaging the household to collect the multi-layer plastic separately because it won't recycle, difficult to recycle. So what we do is we collect on monthly once. So people are willing to collect and store it for a month. So that is a very interesting, and we just go monthly once and collect. So I think the major is in the citizens, they don't know what is this waste, what type of this waste, and whether it recycles or not. So that need to be a lack of awareness. But when we try to awareness, 90% of the community are willing to take certain extra efforts. That 10% would be it's a government job, or I have other priorities. So I think it's a both need to play a role, but brands should be more responsible on what kind of packaging or how much waste they are going to release in the market, which eventually be a post-consumer waste.
I think I do agree with you because majority of the consumers or the population do not actually know what they have to do with the waste or probably where it's going to go afterwards after consuming it. So maybe the brands and the industries should rather be more concerned about what they are putting their products in, as in the packaging, to have recycling in mind, should have reuse in mind when they are designing these packages. But I want to know, what do you think is the role of the government also? Because now the government stands between the people and the industry. And interestingly, the government gets support from a lot of these companies because they are the ones increasing demand and supply in the country. So sometimes it's very difficult for the government to do things against these companies, knowing that it might not directly benefit the companies. So what do you think should be the essential role of the government?
In India, the government has a good stand into especially the plastic waste management or the waste management industry. Of course, earlier there is a kind of a resistance to be able to listen out the voice of the various stakeholders in the part of decision making. But the government also trying to engage the industry, means the brands and the manufacturers. At the same time, the NGOs, environmentalists, various experts from the recycling industry and waste management industry. I think the government has so far set up the rules which are now into the action since 2018. 4 years, we done some good work, but right now there is a way forward to accelerate. So, as a government, as a central government, the main agency, the Central Pollution Control Board and the ministries, has done their role. So now the work need to be done is the urban local bodies. So these local bodies should able to engage the brands to implement the DPR, able to do some strict actions. The rules are there. Earlier there are no rules, or something which doesn't make some significant work. But right now the rules are very strong, very strict. Even like big brands got a huge penalties in India last few months. So I think the government is very serious, but the entire government is just not the top level but the down level. Like we have few hundreds of urban local bodies and few thousands of the gram panchayats, or the village level bodies. So these all has ability to leverage those, they need to implement those rules. Again, there are certain good amount of local bodies which are trying to leverage these rules, trying to see APR as a mechanism to divert the completely waste which is going into the dump yard. They are trying to see if the brands can fund the infrastructure. They are trying to penalize the people who are littering. They are trying to build their own physical infrastructure to increase the capacity for the future needs. I think it's now there is a certain momentum that has picked up where the local community is also expecting the waste management as a basic service that they need in their community or a village or a town or a city. So now the public is questioning the local administration what you are doing, whether you are burning or what kind of, or whether when you will start the waste collection, whether you are recycling it, or what is the process. So I think now there is a kind of, people are empowered now, they want to control the laws that's been happening so far. I think government plays a significant role, but government has limitation because it's a huge system. Bringing all together on a common ground is a challenge. I think we should just wait because it's been just a few months this year in February. They made certain modifications to the rules, so which are much more welcoming. But I think time, it's just, you can't solve the crisis whole in a day or two, right? It's a process. In India, I'm very confident that government has some kind of priority, especially in this domain. But time decides. It's very difficult to measure the outcomes in the day one. So far, so good. Right now, it's the time for more waste management companies to be come out. More people need to take up the entrepreneurship to solve their own village level crisis. I think that will become a big movement. Self sustainable. When you talk about entrepreneurship, it's about you starting a company which can create jobs like green ones. I think if that momentum increases, they can actually leverage these rules and do something and able to self sustain.
We are really hoping that our governments and leaders all around the world will start making changes soon, because the urgency of this keeps becoming serious each and every day. So we need change now. There is no other time to waste. Definitely, there are still a lot of things that we can we can discuss, but we're going to link a lot of your projects and websites and social media platforms to the show notes, so that anyone who is interested can just directly contact you or read about it and see how they can partner with you. But lastly, I just want to know your thoughts on this. If you have the ability to change anything in people's behavior towards the environment in India, what would it be?
Showing the examples, showing the role models, doing something on the ground or demonstrating this is how it can be done. I think people do that. Earlier, people don't have a solution, or they were hopeless, or they are looking for something. But if you are doing something like, waste recovered, dump yards are converted into the, gardens, or, if people are seeing that, okay, this waste can be recycled or, scientifically disposed, people will follow. So, I think in order to bring a larger change is just keep doing it and able to advocate, able to show that the people will be part of that solution. So demonstrate them, this is how it can be done. We can work together, or you can take individual steps or a larger steps collectively. And in India, it's, once people see, okay, this is running, or if they see this is a solution, they follow. It's just a belief. In order to get the belief, you need to do the things on the ground.
Thank you so much, Akshay, for your time today, spending with me on the Green Living Chats. Thank you so much for coming today on your show.
Likewise, David, thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. I look forward to engage and able to contribute in a ways we can all work together collectively. Thank you.
Definitely, definitely. Hope to see you soon. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Green Living Chat. Our goal here is to discuss emerging environmental issues and challenges and find possible solutions to educate the public. So why don't you get in touch with us on all our social media platforms at EcoAmet Solutions, or visit our website www.ecoametsolutions.com, and we'll be excited to hear from you and engage with you. Consider giving us a star rating on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcast. See you on the next episode. Until then, live green.